The Glass Ambassador, the Imperial Throne Carrier, a construct of pure void steel and layered gravity plating, hovered silently in orbit above the neutral moon of Cthari. Inside its core chamber, surrounded by burning banners, chrome-armored guards, and an air thick with tension, the warlords of the Galactic Empire sat on jagged stone thrones, eyeing the approaching figure with undisguised skepticism. She was alone. Ambassador Elena Vostrikov stepped forward. No entourage, no armored escort, not even a translator drone. Just a slim, dark-suited woman with silver streaks in her neatly tied hair and a calm expression that defied the chaos of the council chamber. The warlords stared at her like one might study an unarmed creature wandering into a pit of predators. There were 7 of them, towering beings clad in ceremonial battle rigs, each adorned with skulls, scorched banners, or inlaid obsidian medals. The largest, Warlord Greyvox, let out a booming laugh that echoed through the hall. So, this is humanity's answer? A fragile envoy? No weapons, no armor, not even a translator module? Have you come to beg, little Terran? Elena met his gaze with a faint smile. I speak over a dozen tongues, including yours, Greyvox of Dravzul. I beg for nothing. Her voice was calm, but not arrogant. She didn't posture. She didn't flinch, and that unsettled them more than any threat might have. Warlord Skarza, a serpentine general with flame-tinted scales, coiled her tail against the stone floor. You stand before the Warlord Council, representatives of 2,000 war clans, and carry no arms? This is either bravery or suicide. Elena responded without hesitation. I was told this was a diplomatic summit, not a duel. More laughter. The room vibrated with it. The warlords, born and bred in combat, couldn't fathom the gall of a species so young, so seemingly fragile, sending a single unguarded woman to negotiate territorial treaties. Humans, Greyvox sneered. Glass diplomats. So eager to talk peace. So easy to crush. Elena reached into her coat, slowly and deliberately, as the guards tensed. She withdrew a black obsidian case, no larger than a datapad, and placed it on the central stone table carved from the petrified heart of a dying star. I did bring credentials, she said simply. A quiet hiss escaped as the case unlocked. She flipped it open to reveal a polished metallic emblem, etched with strange, ancient lettering, Cyrillic for those who could decipher the Terran language. It was shaped like a circular badge, dark chrome, with a single crimson line through its center. At the bottom of the badge, carved in iron-forged relief, were 2 words. The warlords leaned forward. Then something strange happened. Silence. True, absolute silence. Even Greyvox stopped breathing for a moment. Warlord Zalor, the eldest among them, a veteran of the Void Wars, took an unconscious step back. His voice trembled as he whispered, "That mark, that name." Skarza hissed sharply, coiling further. "It's a human myth? No, a designation. A war name. I thought it was just legend." Elena folded her hands in front of her and looked each of them in the eye. To humans, Baba Yaga is a story. An old tale told to children about a witch who lives in the woods, who walks on chicken legs, who punishes the wicked. But in the stars, she's something else. Something we repurposed. She let the badge lie where it gleamed under the chamber's red war lights. Earth created many weapons in the early expansion wars, she continued. But we found out the most effective one was fear. And sometimes that fear needed a name. The council chamber suddenly felt smaller, the walls closer. Elena's voice didn't rise, but it carried a weight that pressed down on every word. I was sent here not as a warrior, not as a politician, but as a symbol, a reminder. Greyvox growled, but less confidently now. "You expect us to believe you are her, the Baba Yaga?" "No," Elena replied. "I expect you to believe what comes after me if diplomacy fails." Warlord Zalor wiped his brow, which shimmered with oil-like sweat. There are whispers fleets that vanished, warbands erased. On Kara, 9, a platoon of 20,000 vanished without a trace. The only thing left behind was that emblem. Skarza clicked her fangs together. Just a story. Maybe, Elena said, calmly picking up the badge and returning it to her coat. But you summoned a diplomat, and Earth, in its generosity, sent one. The alternative wears the same emblem, but speaks no words. Silence returned. The Warlord Council sat with heavy breath and heavier thoughts. Elena stepped back. I am here to negotiate a border peace between Earth and the Empire. You may treat me as a fragile thing, or remember what that emblem stands for. The choice is yours. As she turned to leave the chamber, her final words floated like frost on air. But remember, glass cuts deepest when shattered. Whisper of the Witch. The chamber stayed silent long after Ambassador Elena Vostrikov had left. Her footsteps had faded, but the chill she left behind clung to the stone like frostbite. Warlord Gravox slammed his fist onto the war table, cracking one of its ancient corners. A trick, a human ghost story. These creatures play with illusion, stories, and shadows. But his voice trembled. Warlord Zalor, the eldest among them, didn't respond right away. He stared at the broken table, as if seeing another battlefield. It's not a story. Skarza flicked her tail nervously. You believe she's the real thing? Zalor gave a slow nod. I served during the Orion subjugation. I saw what humanity left behind on the moons of Verilax. Villages turned to ash, not by orbital bombardment, but by something else. There were no bodies, just scorch marks, silence, and a symbol carved into steel with surgical precision, a skeletal hut walking on legs of iron. Under it, the same two words, Baba Yaga. Gravox whispered bitterly. Zalor looked to each of them. You've all heard it. Whispers in the void. Stories from scavenger fleets. Ghost ships. Soldiers vanishing in the dark. No sound. No warning. Just that symbol. Warlord Troll, who had remained silent till now, finally spoke. I lost my cousin during the Zentaur uprising. He sent one last message before the comms went dead. Just 5 words. He paused. She's here. Baba Yaga's real. Elsewhere, in her assigned diplomatic quarters, Elena Vostrikov sat in silence, sipping lukewarm tea. Her fingers gently traced the rim of the ceramic cup, her posture perfectly still, except for her eyes. They scanned the room, noting every shadow, every vent, every micro-drone flicker in the corners. She wasn't nervous, just ready. She remembered the first time she heard the name, too. Back on Earth, she had once been Captain Vostrikov, commander of the Terran Black Flame Division, the unit Earth had activated only in extinction-level scenarios. When planetary governments fell, when AIs turned rogue, when alien fleets refused all diplomatic channels, Black Flame responded. And at its center was her codename, Baba Yaga. The name hadn't been assigned. It had been given, whispered by terrified survivors after her missions. She never asked for it, but she earned it. She had walked through plasma storms, cut down warlords with nothing but a blade and a neural disruptor, and left behind only silence and symbols. Earth had taken a folktale and turned it into a legacy. Now, she wore that legacy like armor, because it worked better than any real one. Back in the council chamber, the warlords argued. She is just a relic, said Gravox. Even if she was the Baba Yaga, she's old now. No longer a threat. She doesn't need to be the threat, Zalor snapped. Don't you see? Her presence means Earth is watching. Quietly, like they always do. And if we misstep, they'll stop watching. Skarza hissed. Then perhaps we call her bluff. Demand proof. Force her hand. Dangerous, said Troll. You do not provoke the witch in her hut unless you are ready to burn. Gravox stood tall. Then I will. I will demand a test. A trial. If she refuses, she exposes her lie. If she accepts, well, then we'll see what's left of the legend. The other warlords remained still. Only Zalor spoke again, and his voice was quiet. Legends survive for a reason. Later that evening, as starlight filtered through the crystal glass viewport of her chamber, Elena stood alone, eyes on the void. She was waiting for them. Her fingers brushed the inner lining of her coat, tapping twice against a flat implant just beneath her collarbone. It pulsed once, warm, confirming link status. She was still connected to Earth's long-range network. Somewhere across systems, Her ship Kashii waited cloaked, her AI partner ready to act on her word. But she wouldn't need it. Let them make the next move. Let the Warlords decide how the legend ends. The Warlord who dared. The Warcourt Arena of the Galactic Empire was a relic of ancient conquest, an amphitheater carved from asteroid stone and lined with predator bone. Ritual combat here was not just tradition, it was sacred law. And this day, a human stood at its center. Elena Vostrikov looked impossibly small beneath the towering cliffs of onlookers. The warlords sat in their high seats, expressionless, save for one, Warlord Greyvox, now stripped of his ceremonial armor, wearing only the flex weave of a combat rig. His eyes blazed not with hatred, but with the pride of a warrior untested. "You stand here by your own choice," he growled, flexing metal-threaded muscles beneath thick skin. "Your fate is yours alone, human." Elena didn't answer. She removed her long coat and laid it gently at the edge of the arena. Underneath, she wore a slim black combat uniform. Not armored, not armed. Only her boots carried the dust of 100 worlds. Greyvox bared his fangs. "You think your name, your emblem, your legend will protect you?" Elena finally looked at him. "I don't need protection. I only need you to understand." With a roar, Greyvox charged. The arena crowd leaned forward as the warlord's immense bulk thundered across the stone. One swipe of his gauntlet fist would crush any normal human. Elena didn't move until the last second. She turned slightly, letting Greyvox's momentum carry him forward. One pivot, one step. She caught his wrist mid-swing, twisted his balance with surgical precision, and brought him crashing to the ground with a force that shook the amphitheater. Gasps echoed from the watching soldiers. Greyvox rolled up with a snarl. Trickery. Another charge. This time, a series of hammering strikes, swipes, claws, tail. Elena ducked under one blow, weaved past another. Every movement was calculated, efficient. She struck only twice, once through his solar plexus, once behind his knee. And again, Greyvox fell. The audience was no longer mocking. Blood dripped from Greyvox's mouth. He rose slower this time. "You trained for this," he said, spitting, "but you're still flesh." "I trained for worse than you," Elena replied softly. Greyvox roared, this time engaging with full force. His hands blazed with plasma heat from his embedded gauntlets. The air hissed with energy. He leapt, and this time Elena met him. She spun low, striking 3 precise nerve points along his ribs, using gravity and his own speed against him. Her leg hooked behind his as she rose, arm locking around his throat, twisting his momentum midair. He landed flat on his back, winded, stunned. She stood above him. "I didn't come here to fight," she said, voice calm. "But you demanded it." Greyvox stared up at her, his pride broken more than his bones. "How?" he gasped. "How are you still alive?" Elena didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She knelt beside him and spoke softly, so only he could hear. "Because I'm the reason peace exists, and I am a consequence if it fails." Then she stood, turned to the stunned warlords in the stands, and raised a hand. "No more trials. No more tests. You asked for proof. You got it." Warlord Zalor stood slowly, his eyes heavy with memory. "She is not the myth. She is the meaning behind it." One by one, the other warlords rose. None objected. Even Skarza remained quiet. Elena walked from the arena and paused only to pick up her coat. As she slid it on, the crimson emblem glinted once more. Behind her, Greyvox sat up, no longer angry, only thoughtful. He whispered something not even his guards could hear. "She wasn't fighting me. She was teaching me." The emblem in the stars. The diplomatic council reconvened one rotation later. Not in the war chamber, but in the Hall of Accord, a neutral sphere station orbiting between Imperial and Terran space. The transition from cracked stone to polished crystal was symbolic and deliberate. Elena Vostrikov stood at the center, this time flanked not by silence, but by attention. No one doubted her now. Warlord Greyvox bore a bandaged arm and a bowed head, not in shame, but in respect. Even Skarza offered no venom this time, and Zalor, the oldest among them, stood with hands folded as if greeting an equal. The diplomatic terms lay before them in glowing script. A line of systems, trade routes, cultural exchanges, ceasefires, no tricks, no hidden terms, just balance. One warlord, Troll, finally broke the silence. Your terms are fair. Your actions have proven your intent. But there is one question left. Elena inclined her head slightly. Ask it. Troll stepped forward, his mechanical voice softer than expected. Are you truly Baba Yaga? Or just someone wearing a shadow? She paused. Then, slowly, deliberately, she pulled the emblem from her coat again. The chrome badge, the crimson line, the Cyrillic letters. She placed it on the table, but did not speak. Instead, she pressed 2 fingers to her collarbone. The implant pulsed. Above them, in the glass dome of the chamber, the stars rippled. Then, the stars vanished. In their place, a massive black silhouette, a ship silent, cloaked in shadow. Not just large, impossible. It stretched across space like a leviathan made of silence and purpose. No engines flared. No weapons gleamed. Just presence. Projected across the stars, in shimmering red, was the same emblem. The warlord stared, unblinking. Warlord Zalor took a step back, voice barely audible. The Kashii, the ghost ship, the phantom in the dark, the hunter of fleets. Every warlord had heard tales, some dismissed, others feared. Now they saw it. Elena finally spoke. I am no longer the Baba Yaga who fought in the subjugation wars. That name belongs to all those who stood when no one else would, who whispered fear into the hearts of monsters. She looked at each of them. But I wear the emblem because someone must. So long as Earth values peace, we will send diplomats. She paused, eyes cold and now. But if peace is broken, we send her. The image of the Kashii faded. The stars returned, and with them, a heavy silence. Then Gravox stepped forward and bowed. We accept the treaty, he said. One by one, the others followed. Elena watched them sign. She said nothing more. When she returned to her shuttle, a junior Terran officer met her, wide-eyed. Ma'am, was that really the Kashii? Elena allowed herself the faintest smile. Of course not. The officer blinked. Wait, what? She leaned in and whispered. The real Kashii never reveals herself. That was just a projection. A whisper. The officer stared. Elena turned, walked toward her transport, and added over her shoulder. But sometimes the whisper is louder than war. As the shuttle rose, the council hall watched it vanish into the stars. And in the minds of all who had seen her, one image burned brighter than any threat. A glass ambassador who bore the name of a ghost and reminded the galaxy that legends don't die. They wait.